I tend to get a mix of verbal and written feedback on a draft, both in the sense of verbal feedback on it and feedback written on the paper from my supervisors. I've never used track changes as a way to get feedback because very often it won't work so well for things like methodological comments as opposed to, say, spelling and grammar corrections. What I found does help in my experience is being clear up front in terms of what kind of feedback you'd like. So we have in Exeter a thing called a supervision agreement, which I know has parallels up and down the country. And in my supervision agreement, I will usually put something along the lines of, I will produce a minimum of X words for each supervision. Feedback will take this form, that form, and so on. So for me, it's a minimum of 1,500 words per supervision meeting, which is not a huge amount when you think about it, but it's better than nothing, and it is at least achievable. And then I will send that to my supervisors at least a week before the meeting, sometimes 5 days if they're feeling nice. And then they will feedback on that in the supervision, both orally and with comments on a physical draft. But it's all about really finding what works for you, and feel free, to experiment in your first couple of years, just until you work out how feedback works for you. The challenge with feedback as well is not to get discouraged. Even if a PhD is a constant work in progress, it's still very easy to slip back into the mindset that you submit the thing for your supervisor and then they judge it for you and you decide that you are terrible and have no quality for doing a PhD. Don't know where that came from actually. In reality, of course, it's a much more step-by-step process, and your supervisors are there to help you. And just by writing something, even if that something is terrible, and it probably isn't, you're in a much better position to make it better than if you'd written nothing. And you've got to keep that kind of awareness with you while you're awaiting feedback. And you've got to expect points to improve, because if everything was perfect, you wouldn't need to do a PhD.